Hi all, this is Skate, and before we jump into this update 4.11 video, I just want to look at this. Wargaming shared this on social media today. This is the new tier 10 coming to Blitz. It's the VK7201K. It's basically a German super heavy tier 10 tank. Now if you don't follow the PC world of tanks, it's basically an E100 gun strapped to something which makes the mouse pale in terms of armor. It's a monster. But obviously the DPM has to suck to balance it. And this is a premium on PC. In fact, it's a clan rewards tank on PC. This is not the tech tree Panzer 7 basically. This is the VK7201, which is the premium variant, so to speak, available on PC. So, basically, I was really happy when I saw this, because I was like, ooh, new tier 10, and then I went, oh, no, wait, it's going to be a crate tank, because, you know, premium tier 10 on PC, being migrated through to Blitz, and then Wargaming confirmed something I wasn't expecting. This is going to be a tech tree tank, guys. So, I just wanted to share that happy news, and also say, logic. Chieftain Mark 6 is obviously, as we know, going to be a great tank. The VK7201K, which is a premium, is coming across as a tech tree tank. I don't know how it's going to fit in the tech tree yet, but when we do know, I will make sure I share it as soon as I can. But there's some happy news at least. Next up, I did also want to say a massive thank you. We hit 20,000 subscribers. So obviously that does mean big giveaway in some shape or form, and I will have that video up in the next 2 days to announce a giveaway. But yeah, I just wanted to use this as another opportunity to say a huge thank you. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it, but I will go into that in much more depth in a video which will be out imminently. Also, apologies if this video is of a lesser quality than my usual ones. It's recorded on my phone rather than on my tablet, and my phone is getting on a bit, should we say, so it's time I upgraded that soon as well. Okay. 2.5 minutes in, and I haven't even spoke about update 4.11. The big thing which is changing in 4.11 is Vineyards, and this is it. It's one of those things that when I first went onto the map, it felt a bit strange. It's so familiar because the layout is there, but it looks entirely different at the same time, if that can make any sense in any shape or form. It's daytime. You can see more. But at the same time, I'm slightly disappointed the fact it is daytime. I liked the night map. In fact, seeing this map in day rather than dusk or night makes me really want them to have every map converted to day and night. Off the top of my head, I can't remember how many maps there are, but let's say hypothetically there's 10. It's basically having 20 maps just by having night or day on. It makes the difference. They have changed the layout on this map ever so slightly, but I am a bit disappointed that the night time's gone. Nonetheless, though, the map does look good in the daytime. So, yeah, it would be nice to have both variants, potentially, or a night and day one. That's just one minor opinion, anyway. They have changed a fair bit of the layout, and I love the new layout on this map. It's not a complete rework from the ground up. It's minor reworks here or there, which will improve and reaffirm what game style we are used to on Vineyards. And that's a good thing. I mean, the cap in Encounter is in exactly the same place, but the terrain has ever so slightly been adjusted. And if we switch to this view, A, because it's cleaner, and B, why not? And we're on Supremacy this time. And we can have a proper look while the screen is clear as to what differences they've made. I mean, it just looks like Vineyards in the day so far, except the cap at B is very different. Look at how much cover is in B. There's huge amounts. You're never going to get caught. Your light tank's going to go up from that spawn, and get into B and get B no problem at all. But naturally, to balance that, the other spawn is going to have a cap to match. So there's the bush that we're used to, and this time it's different again because you now have a building to hide behind while you're capping. Previously never had that opportunity. So now A and B can be captured from the spawn with immunity. What that basically means is C is going to be the holding ground. Also, this just goes to show what I meant by it reaffirms the gameplay we're used to on Vineyards. Usually one spawn will go to A and one will go to B, except if there's a light tank in this bush here, you're going to get nailed trying to get across. Potentially, anyway. Now you can get into B, no problem at all. And it was the same vice versa. You could have one really, really brave medium go past B and up the ridge right in front of us there, and proxy spot everything in A, and it'll get nailed by the snipers down by there. We've all seen that happen 1,000 times over. That can't happen with this. Yes, they could be proxy spotted. However, they're behind the building. So, there's a good side. You can now get those two without worrying about getting nailed across from each of those two to each other. There's a bad part to that, though. Whichever's on the one spawn has to go to B going forward, and the other one has to go to A. Because of the new locations like that, if your team, as an example, all go to C, you have no hope leaving C of getting any shots across onto A or B to reset it from C, which I will show you in a moment. That's a big deal, because that means one team has got to take A and one team has got to take B. And then this is where it gets interesting, and where you got to give it to the developers, because they're almost pushing you to start fighting down that end of the map to get C. But at the start of the map and the start of a game, if you all went to C, which you do see, I didn't mean to do that, you see that happen, you're gonna get nailed, because you can't get A or B from C. It's as easy as that. So once you've got your appropriate bases each, then you can work your way through here. Or take the divide the team scenario and see if that works out. Just going to have to see how this plays out. But I think it's going to be a case of one team is always going to go A, one's always going to go B. You'll find there is always a stereotype route or tactic people will make on maps. I get the feeling it's going to remain very much the same on Vineyards, except it's more guaranteed to happen. And here is C. So I can kind of cover myself from one direction now by tucking into these buildings, and the same on that side from the other direction when you're trying to cap C. So you've got a little bit more cover. Also, C is much further back than it was. But when you're in C, you can't snipe across to the other two. They're completely covered by building. But that also means you can't get sniped back at C as well. That rock is now in the perfect position to also stop any long cross-range fire across those two gaps, and all these buildings look virtually identical, except they've moved slight locations. I mean, here is another popular spot. When the encounter map, well, when you're on encounter and the cap is here, a lot of people like to go in this spot in hull down tanks. You light everything up, and it usually required having a lot of gun depression to pull it off, or having the scenario where you can pull fully out. They've kind of flattened that one side a little bit. Thankfully not too much. And we do still have plenty of bushes to try and spot long range across. In fact, there's more bushes than there was, so bonus. So yeah, aside from my little moan about night and day maps, which, it's not a moan, it's just, it looks great in the day, but it's also a shame we lose the night map. It would be nice to have the alternative of both, but the map itself, the changes they've made, are brilliant. Which makes a nice change. It's not flattened, at least. The next thing to look at, buffs and nerfs. There isn't actually any nerfs in this. There's buffs, however, and the first buff we're going to look at is the STB1. It's received a buff to its aim time, and it's received a buff to its gun dispersion. These are looking at two fully equipped tanks, by the way. But fully equipped, you can get your STB1 currently to 0.326. Fully equipped in 4.11, it'll be 0.308. And aim time, according to the game client, is 3.1 down to 2.8. Realistically, you're looking at about a 1.4 something aim time. The way they show aim times in the game isn't... It's a long story. We'll save that for another video. Next up, E50M. It's received a rate of fire buff. Now, fully equipped, you can get your reload to 8.4 seconds with provisions and equipment. Now, as of 4.11, it's going to be 9.14 rate of fire, which improves your DPM from 2,940 to 3,199. Also, the aim time has been dropped from the game stated 3.4 to 3.0. One thing I haven't mentioned, sorry, the screenshots you're actually seeing are from the 4.11 test client, which is why they show all the correct figures as of what the buffs will appear like when this update lands. Next up is the Tier 8 Light M4190 Premium Tank. Completely unequipped, no provisions, your stock gun dispersion is 0.364. In update 4.11, it's going to be down to 0.336. And remember, with equipment, you can get that down even further. Aim time has received a very small buff as well. The Top Gun on the T49, which is the 90mm, has received an accuracy buff as well from 0.355 to 0.336, and a big aim time buff from 4.5 to 3.6 seconds. In perspective, in update 4.11, when you are stationary in this tank, your aim time's going to be around 1.97 seconds. Currently it sits 2.78, and remember, these are unequipped figures now, so you can get that down even further. This is going to have a very nice aim time on it. I think they're trying to persuade people away from that glorious 152mm. Next up then is the WZ-120. Again, these are unequipped figures, but it's received a small rate of fire buff from 5.21 rounds a minute to 5.69, which boosts your DPM from 2086 to 2276 unequipped. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of this tank, so I imagine that's a very welcome buff for a lot of people. And then finally the AMX 1390. Now, looking at all the figures in the game, in the test client for 4.11, I couldn't see any difference whatsoever in the stats in any shape or form. But what Wargaming said was it's getting a mobility buff and a dispersion on turret and track rotation buff. Now, they are figures potentially which aren't disclosed in the game, i.e. terrain resistance, which is not stated in the game, and accuracy on rotation of the turret is not specified within the game, which is why, quite simply, I can't see the figures and tell you what the difference is. But I still wanted to include it for those who wanted to know the AMX 1390 is receiving a terrain resistance buff and improvement in accuracy on rotation of track and turret. There are a couple of other things coming in update 4.11 which I can't demonstrate in this video, sadly, because, well, the test client, it's a nightmare trying to get into a game sometimes. But basically, they've improved the auto-aim on mobile devices. Now, as it stands, if you're aiming and you're locked onto an enemy target and someone else drives past, it'll screw up your auto-aim. That won't happen anymore unless you actually lock onto a different target. So they've improved the auto-aim so it doesn't go all over the shop when there's several targets on the screen at once. It'll lock onto the one until you change to point at a different one. So that's a nice improvement, balancing the auto-aim between mobile and PC variants of the game. And then the last one fascinates me because I don't know about this, but the Löwe, it has a hole in its armor profile. I didn't know this. But the turret has a hole in it somewhere, apparently on the armor profile. So if you shot this one location on the Löwe, your shell would fly straight through it. Naturally, it wouldn't do any damage. I didn't even know this bug existed, but apparently it is a very, very small hole in the turret somewhere on the armor profile. So it's rare that you'd hit this place. However, there are occasions where people would shoot it and it would go straight through. That's being corrected in the next update as well. All in all, a smaller update than usual. However, it's still a quite interesting one because, well, STB and E50M. I'll always welcome a buff for those two. Anyway, that's it for this video. Stay tuned to the channel because I will have that giveaway video out imminently. And again, massive thank you to all of you who have subscribed to get us to that 20,000 mark. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I will catch you in the next one, which is going to be a very good one, I promise. Yeah, bye-bye.